And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And man, what an exciting show have we got for you today. You know, in the studio, we have a guest host, my own guest host, Sean LaFave from generally the Geared for Wellness group. Hey, Sean, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
It's going to be a magnificent show today. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited to be here in the studio with a real microphone and everything. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's going to be great, Sean. I mean, you know, on today's show, we're going to talk about what we always talk about every day, Monday through Friday. That's what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses. And we're going to continue our news segment, the rest of the story, with the great Paul Harvey in the rest of the story. Today's story is going to be You Can't Come Inside, and that's actually going to be produced by you today, so we're going to see how that goes, right?
All right. It's a good thing I practiced reading before I came here, so.
Well, you know, that's always a good thing to see if you can still read, right? Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? And we're going to enjoy at least 2 hours with you today. That's going to be something unique.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And you know what? Impromptu. Nobody knows what'll happen, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't think we ever know what's going to happen.
Nobody knows. Well, I'll tell you what I do know. At 3:02 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 88 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And that's down from 90 degrees on its way to 58 degrees. So it's, you know what? It's still about 20 degrees cooler than it was about a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? But let's talk about the 10 things that you need to know that's in the news. We've abbreviated these so we can get them all in, so that the people that you talk to, your peers, the people you work for, they know that you know what's going on in the news today. So let's talk about those on an abbreviated basis, and then we'll expand on those a little bit later on. Here are the 10 things that you need to know for Thursday, your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that are going to be talked about all day today and most likely tomorrow as well. And right off the top, all too familiar, a swing state vital for Trump. Both sides agree the billionaire businessman has virtually no chance to win the presidency without Florida's trove of 29 electoral votes. We'll talk more about that. And then Iraqi special forces push into eastern Mosul. As Islamic State fighters are driven out, celebrations include children flashing the V for victory sign. Let's hope that they're right. And the Cubs and Indians, well, just latest in the World Series Game 7s. Maybe the most memorable game in 1960 when Bill Mazeroski ripped a home run in the bottom of the ninth to lift Pittsburgh over the Yankees 10-9. Well, I don't know what the hell that means, but I can tell you that the Cubs won last night.
They won in style.
My son-in-law is a big Chicago fan, whether it be the Cubs or the Bears. And last night he was in seventh heaven. Right, 108 years. Can you believe that?
108 years. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable. And a suspect in the custody in a police killings, a white man with a history of racial provocations in interactions with police is accused of ambushing and fatally shooting two white Des Moines area officers. And how Facebook aims to boost advertising revenue. The social network's latest strategy is to stress videos and the ads that can be sold around them. Well, I mean, you know what? If they don't charge you for the service, you know who the product is, right?
Right, that's me, yeah.
You got it. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? And the jury is seated in the trial of a white officer who shot a black man in the back. You know, the slaying in South Carolina stunned the nation after it was recorded by a bystander. You know what? It seems like these iPhones and these special phones, Sean, have really changed what's going on in the world, because all these things that would never have made the media before, would never have gotten out, are being recorded because it's on everybody's phone. Everybody's phone's got a camera.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like if I go to parties and you know, weddings or whatever with friends, and people say, hey, come on, let's go out to the dance floor and dance. I go, nope. I don't dance. I country dance. I like to two-step, you know. I like to go to country bars. But I go, you know what? I don't want to be that guy that goes viral on YouTube because I look like an idiot out there dancing. That's literally a big reason why I don't like going out because there's somebody's got a video camera with them, and they're taking it all the time. And I'm so glad that I grew up in the time that I did, where there's no video proof of the things I did.
Isn't it interesting? There is absolutely no guarantee of privacy in the world today.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Well, you know what? Who's under the growing pressure to quit? Well, I can tell you, South African President Jacob Zuma faces calls to resign amid a suspected corruption at the top levels of his government. And the United States and Europe are at odds over the Iranian airline. The airline, backed by the notorious Revolutionary Guard, acquires rights to fly routes in more than a dozen countries despite U.S. terror-related sanctions. We used to be the most powerful country in the world, right?
At one time we were, yeah.
How do we allow this?
We voted Barack Obama, I think.
That has got to be it. Yeah, that's got to be it. Yeah, that's got to be it. Well, why new cancer treatments are problematic. This is right up your alley, Sean.
This is right up my alley.
Yeah. In rare cases, some powerful new therapies that harness the immune system to fight cancer may cause potentially fatal heart damage.
Of course.
So one good thing
leads to another bad one.
Not necessarily.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
It's a law of nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, CMAs celebrate the 50th birthday. A mix of classic and contemporary country music stars helps mark the milestone in Nashville at the annual awards show. You were just talking about country music to me all morning. Not all morning, but most of the morning this morning, right?
Yeah. I grew up listening to country music, especially the old school stuff. I listened to stuff that was produced before I was even born, and I've been a country fan my whole life. And today's country music, they talk about this new stuff that's out there now. I can't stand it. I listen to talk radio. I feel like I'm 80 years old. I listen to AM talk radio all the time now, and because I try to turn on the country station, and I can't find anything I like. As a matter of fact, when I go back to Wichita, Kansas, I'm excited to. We were talking about that. My opinion of Kansas. I'm not a big fan of Kansas, but one thing I do love there's a radio station there that plays classic country music, and that's always on in my car. I love it.
Well, I remember my very, very first trip to Houston, Texas, and I couldn't go to Houston without going to Gilley's.
Oh yeah,
Gilley's nightclub was the thing way back then. And I remember going down to the lobby of the hotel and saying, "Well, listen, how do I get to Gilley's? I need to go to Gilley's." And the guy says, "Look, just step outside, get in your car, wait for the first a GMC pickup truck that goes by, follow that. It's going to take you right into the parking lot at Gilley's." Yeah. And sure enough, it really did. It was unbelievable. I walked in, and Mickey Gilley was actually on the stage.
Nobody plays the piano like he does. When you hear him start hammering away at those keys, he's got a style it's like some singers have such a unique voice, you instantly recognize it.
Yeah.
When he plays the piano, you instantly recognize that's Mickey Gilley.
Can you guess what song he was singing?
Oh boy.
The girls all get prettier at closing time.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about this isn't Survivor. Obama says the Trump-Clinton fire away. Donald Trump warned today that a cloud of investigation would allow Hillary Clinton into the White House, evoking the bitter impeachment battle of the 1990s in a closing campaign argument meant to bring wayward Republicans home. Clinton and her allies, led by President Barack Obama, told voters to get serious about the dangers of Trump. As polls show Trump closing in on Clinton in key battleground states, her campaign is rushing to shore up support in some longstanding Democratic strongholds. That includes the campaigns in Michigan firewall, the remarkable situation for a candidate who looked to be cruising to an easy win just a week ago. Doesn't look that easy now, does it?
It does not look easy. I can't even imagine how she can get elected at this point. All the different scandals that are going on.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. The thing is that it does appear to be a really, really close race.
Yeah,
but this is only Thursday. We got until Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Well, you know what? We've got to take a short break. We're about a minute over from doing that. When we come back, we're going to talk about Melania Trump vows to take on cyberbullying as the First Lady. We'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Don't go away. We got a lot of great show, especially because of my great guest host, Sean LaFave. Hey, we'll be right back, Sean.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics, where at 3:13 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 59 degrees. That's the least of what Sean's going to get when he goes to Wichita coming in a week or so.
Oh my gosh, the humidity.
It's not even, oh my gosh, it's oh my God, what the hell happened to me here?
Wasn't like 10, 15 minutes ago, it was like 88 degrees. It went up by 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Do we have that much hot air coming out of us that we?
It's probably you and me. You got it. You got that right. You got that right. Well, you know what? We're talking about the news, and when we left, we said that we were going to talk about Melania Trump vows to take on cyberbullying as the first lady. You know what? Donald Trump's wife, Melania, made a rare appearance on the campaign trail Thursday, pledging to focus on combating online bullying and serve as an advocate for women and children if her husband's elected to the White House. Her description to the perils of social media seemed at odds with her husband's divisive and bullying rhetoric throughout the campaign. Our culture has gotten too mean and too rough, especially to children and teenagers, said Mrs. Trump, delivering a get out the vote speech to the Philadelphia suburbs with less than a week to go before the election day. It is never okay when a 12-year-old girl or boy is mocked, bullied, or attacked in the schoolyard, she argued, but it is absolutely unacceptable when it is done by someone with no name hiding on the internet. Can you believe that? Isn't that true?
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know what? I think she gets a bad rap just because she's got an accent. That doesn't mean that she doesn't have an opinion, right?
No, she's an intelligent woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
It's funny. The big thing you hear a lot about is body shaming. You shouldn't.
Well, there's no shame. There's no shame to her body.
Yeah, there's no shame to that body at all. Absolutely.
I want to tell you.
But you know what? But women unfortunately get the opposite as well. When a woman is very, very beautiful, exactly that. The same thing. People for some reason disconnect. They go, "Oh, she's beautiful." Matter of fact, I dated a gal that she was very conflicted inside because she was taught growing up that you can't be beautiful and smart at the same time. That beautiful women are like cheerleaders. They're not very bright, that they're maybe pretty to look at, but they're just not someone you want to have an intellectual conversation with. And so why we have this stigma, you see someone like Melania, she's absolutely gorgeous, and you just assume that, well, she's probably not that smart, but she is a very, very intelligent woman.
She's articulate. And she's intelligent. She's successful in her own right. I'm not saying she's a billionaire. She is now because she's married to one,
by default. Yeah.
But she was a multimillionaire and successful in her own right long before Donald.
Yeah. He didn't pull her up out of. She wasn't some roadside cafe waitress that he found and polished up. And no, she was, like you said, she was a very successful woman. Already made herself who she was, and that's why she was a good fit for Donald Trump.
Well, let's talk about Brexit. Brexit hits a speed bump as the court rules lawmakers must get say. And when I say get say, they got to get their way, right? Britain's plans to leave the European Union hit a large speed bump today as the High Court ruled that the government cannot start exit negotiations without a vote in Parliament. The judgment deepened Britain's divide over Europe, raising hopes among pro-European Union politicians that they can soften the terms of the UK's withdrawal from the bloc, leaving campaigners say that any attempt to do that would be a betrayal of voters' decision. The government immediately said that it would ask the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling, that the court has set aside time in early December to hear the case. Now, today's ruling actually, could delay government plans to start talks on Britain's European Union exit or Brexit within weeks, and opens a major constitutional battle over the balance of power between Parliament and the government. The truth is, there is an analogy between Brexit, what's going on in the European Union, and what's going on in the United States today, wanting to change what's going on in Washington, D.C., and that's why Donald Trump is being so popular in waging such a close campaign that's going on against Hillary Clinton, don't you think?
Well, absolutely, yeah. It's the exact same ideology. There's change. Let's get away from doing things the way we've done them for so long. People look at Trump and they say, well, all the living presidents are against him, and all these other people, all these politicians are against him. I'm like, yeah, because he's different. He's not part of the system. And people in the United States have said for so long, we need an outsider to come in and change things up. And once we get one, we get scared of it because it's different. And Trump is not polished. He's abrasive. He's got his problems, but maybe that's what we need right now. And I think that's the question people need to start asking themselves, just like they do with Brexit. Is this what we really need? We may not like it. It may be uncomfortable. No one grows inside their comfort zone. You got to get out your comfort zone to grow. And maybe we need to get out of our comfort zone. And maybe what we need is someone like Donald Trump, whether you like him or not. And that's exactly what they're going through with Brexit. I know that Scotland was very against Brexit, but most of the United Kingdom, obviously, they voted for it.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you know what? I think it's time that we kind of lighten things up, make things a little happier.
I like
get the hair standing up in the back of your neck and the chills up and down your spine. Let's take a short break, Sean, and when we come back, let's talk about the IRS loses. And the first case we're going to talk about is that the IRS must pay a refund to a non-filer. Can you believe that? They get a refund and they didn't even file their taxes? Well, I'm going to tell you all about that right after these brief messages, right after these, yeah, I said that, huh? Right after these brief messages.
Commercials, yeah, brief messages.
Yeah, we're going to go.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh yeah, here I am, Robert Cardoza on the where the hell am I? I'm in the middle of the intersection of business and politics, right?
Yeah, you're trying not to get hit by a truck.
I'm trying to get not to get hit by a truck. Well, I can tell you that at 3:24 p.m. Pacific time, it is currently, get this, 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 59 degrees. And if you're lucky enough and you're listening to our show in Cleveland, Ohio, where there's a big celebration going on today, it's cold. It's 56 degrees and it's mostly cloudy out there. And if you're in Torrance, California, where our own Dr. Wireless is dipping his toes in the blue Pacific, it's 81 degrees and clear. He's in seventh heaven.
I would imagine so.
Guaranteed. I can absolutely tell you that. But I can tell you what, we're going to get to something a little more pleasant out there right now. We're going to talk about the IRS losers. We're going to put a smile on your face. We're going to send the hair up on the back of your neck. We're going to send chills up and down your spine. We're going to make you know that life is worth living because these guys have got it wrong. Let's do it right now. The IRS loses. The first case up is that they must pay a refund to a non-filer. Here's the case. Miles Zaki didn't file a return for 1999, and when the IRS realized this almost 3 years later, it sent him a tax bill. But it turned out that Zarky had overpaid his taxes by $270, and he sought a refund. The IRS's objection: a person who hasn't filed a tax return can obtain a refund only of taxes paid during the prior 2 years. As more than 2 years had passed since his past payment, Zarky was not entitled to a refund. But Zarky decided he needed some justice. He went to the tax court, and this is what the judge said. The judge said, that is the general rule, but the IRS can send a deficiency notice to collect a tax bill up to 3 years back, and when it does so, the taxpayer gets the same time limit for refund claims. So, Zarky's refund is allowed. Now, isn't it wonderful that the IRS has to play by the same rules that you and I do?
It is absolutely wonderful.
They just always try to skirt the rules and get into your pocket.
Oh,
it's just,
yeah, they do.
That you would think it was their money, right?
Yeah. I got audited a few years ago, and
not fun.
It's not fun. And it was told it was going to be a low risk audit. They were just, setting their flags. It turned into a complete nightmare. There's no low risk anything with the IRS.
You never want to represent yourself in an audit. You want to use a licensed professional. Because next time I'll have an attorney. That-a-boy. How about this? The IRS loses. An estate avoids undervaluation penalty when both sides' experts were wrong. Yeah. Here's the deal. When a woman died, her shares in a private company were valued by the IRS at $32.4 million and by her estate at $1.75 million. Big difference here. Now, finding the difference startling, the court valued the shares at $13.5 million. The IRS then sought to impose undervaluation penalties on the estate, and this is what the judge said. When assets are undervalued by more than 25%, a penalty of 40% normally applies, and there is undervaluation, in this case of 87%. But this valuation was difficult. Both sides made errors, and the estate's valuation was much closer to the court's than was the IRS's. So this gives sufficient cause to lift the penalty.
That's awesome.
Does that surprise you?
That's great. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, not at all. Let me give you one more. And this is kind of like a split decision, right? In this case, a spouse is innocent for only 1 of 3 years. Now, it sounds a little convoluted, but here's the deal. Andrea Vuxta's husband earned the family's income and underpaid his taxes for 3 years. Now, he also made a bankruptcy filing in which his general debts, but not his tax debts, were extinguished. After that, he died, and the IRS tried to collect from Andrea the tax bill that he owed for the couple's joint returns. She claimed innocent spouse relief, saying that she hadn't known about the tax underpayments, and so she wound up going to court to get some justice from the courts. And here's what the judge said. Andrea didn't know of the underpayment for the first year when its return was actually filed, so she gets relief for that year, but she had to know of the taxes due for the other 2 years because of the bankruptcy case. So she does not qualify for innocent spouse for those two, but she gets the relief from the bankruptcy. So she still doesn't have to pay that. And I just love it. I just love it when the IRS loses.
I do too. It's funny. This whole, we've in our country's been going through we legalized gay marriage and so on. And I've been asked my opinion on that. And I said, first of all, why is a whole segment of our society fighting for the right to be part of something that has more than a 50% failure rate? Let's start with that. I'm not sure why this is such a big thing for them, but why does the government need to give you legal permission to do something that is a spiritual bond between two people? And I think that is the exact reason why it is for taxation. If they can't get it from you, they're going to go to your spouse.
It's all about money.
It's all about money. That's exactly. Legal marriage is all about taxation. It has nothing to do with love.
Talking about money
concept.
Have you ever wanted to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is making plans and doing things?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we call this next segment that we call Inside the IRS. It's just a little bit like the Twilight Zone. Okay, so now these are not tax court cases, Sean, but these are precedents and things that the IRS has done that if you know about them, you can use them to your advantage when you're trying to make plans, either defending yourself or defending yourself against the IRS or whatever's going on. And so let's talk about those a little bit. You ever think about going to jail for a tax crime, even if you reported all of your income? That's kind of a dangerous thing, right? If you think about it. Well, here's the thing. When the IRS cannot prove that you failed to report all of your income, it may still be able to prove that you committed a tax crime. So here's an alert for you. Small business owners have a tendency to hire employees off the books to save payroll taxes. Now, avoid union assessments and attract foreign entities or aliens not permitted to work in this country. If the IRS decides to pursue a criminal case, it's going to claim that the small business owner willfully aided and abetted in the filing of false payroll tax returns. And another crime the IRS will attempt to charge is obstruction of justice. If the person being audited tells his or her friends and business associates what to say or not say if they're contacted by the IRS investigators. You got to be really careful. You know what? I castigate the IRS all the time, but the truth is they're not stupid. Oh, no. You got to be smart about what you're doing. Yep. So when you start getting into these kind of intricate problems, you want to make sure that you're using a licensed professional, somebody that really knows what's going on. So here's one that you're going to like. I like it anyway. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do because I wasn't involved in it. Lawsuits against the largest accounting and law firms for faulty tax advice. Or shelter advice, actually. You know, unhappy investors in the tax shelters structured by some of the biggest and most prestigious accounting firms in the country have continued their lawsuits in state courts seeking recovery under favorable state law. Now, here's a little background for you. The big companies created very complex and exotic transactions designed to shelter income. When the IRS began to audit these deals, they were shown to be complex, uneconomic shams that simply generated tax savings. Now, investors seeking damages for breach of fiduciary duty and fraud, negligent misrepresentation, breach of contract and malpractice, and civil conspiracy have actually won these cases against these big firms. The IRS loses against the individual taxpayers and wins against the law firms and the accounting firms because it was all based on, if I get you this, I make this much money. And that's really what's going on here. Now, thinking about that, for gosh sakes, do not go away. Because you know why? What's coming up is we're going to spend the next 3 segments with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. You do not want to miss this. We'll be right back with Sean after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-0999. 909-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
But first, I'm Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:37 p.m. Pacific time. God, it's still 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California on its way down to 50 degrees. That's the one that we want to get to. But if you're listening to us on our syndicated network, global network, and you're in New York City, that's not the barbecue place. That's, the other thing. It's 67 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, God, you are celebrating. It's 59 degrees and it's scattered clouds. But I'll tell you what, there are no clouds over the Chicago Cubs right now, I don't think.
There aren't.
What do you think?
No, it's beautiful sunny days for them right now.
Oh, yeah. We're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in his Geared for Wellness Corner. I don't know if we're going to do Geared for Wellness or what we're going to do. Should I be popping some stuff up here?
No,
or do you have something planned to go?
Well, I kind of sort of have something planned. Nothing. No specific agenda, but I had a conversation with a woman yesterday that I just brought something to light to me that I would love to talk about. And
okay.
This woman has a business where she does in-home care for the people who are mentally disabled. Oh. And so I said, I told her about my aunt. I had my mom's sister, Carol, was in a car accident. I want to say this was 35 plus years ago. And, she was just a single car accident. I think she was driving on the freeway and I think maybe even hit the center divider. I don't remember all the details, but one of the details that I do remember is when they got her to the hospital, they found a gum lodged in her throat that was blocking her ability to breathe, and so it created brain damage. And they're not sure if the
are you talking about like chewing gum?
Yeah, like chewing gum. Yeah. She was like chewing gum, and they don't know if she got the gum stuck in her throat and that's what caused her to lose control, or if she lost control somehow and the accident caused her to choke on the gum. But anyway, it stopped her from breathing, and she went into a coma. She was married at the time. Her husband was a Marine, and they told him, look, she's not going to recover. You need to pull the plug. And of course, it's his wife. He didn't want to. And time went on, and his family finally convinced him, you're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. She's not coming back. She's gone. You need to move on with your life, which he eventually did. Well, she eventually came out of the coma, and ever since has been really basically the mentality of kind of a toddler, maybe a 4 or 5 year old or something like that. But she's a full grown woman who has this little child mentality. And so she can't care for herself. She's got to have people. My grandmother was her primary caregiver. And, when my grandmother died, then she has these in-home care people. And that's where I was talking to this woman that's, now take care of her full time. And this woman said to me, she goes, I've got a young woman that I'm taking care of now who's in a very similar kind of situation. She goes, but she wasn't put there by a car accident. She, several years ago, her mom died unexpectedly and at a young age. And she said that she was so distraught and so filled with grief that she literally, her health fell apart, her mind fell apart, and she is now totally incapable of caring for herself. And prior to her mom dying,
because of depression.
Because the depression, just the chemical imbalance created by the body, just has the depression, that grief, that pain. Pain is one of those things that will wear your body down. Physical pain will wear you down, but mental pain, emotional pain is the same thing. And this woman now is literally at a point where she is physically incapable of caring herself. She needs 24-hour care. And I say the only thing, but this is a huge deal. But most people recover when their parent dies, even at a young age. But when her mom passed away, it was so traumatic to her that it put her in this state where she's now literally incapable of caring. So she needs care providers. And the thing that really drove home for me is, every single person that I sit down with and who's chronically ill, who's got something wrong with them that's not gone away for 10, 20 years, whatever the case might be. There's three basic ways that you're going to have trauma in your life. You have physical trauma, like a slip and fall, you get hit by a car, get in a car accident or whatever. So some sort of physical trauma, like horse, falling off a horse, whatever. And then there's chemical trauma. When I say chemical, it could also be like biological too, like a virus or something like that, or it could be a chemical like a pesticide. And then there's emotional trauma. And almost every single person that I talk to has had at least two of those around the time when they started getting sick. And almost every time, one of those is an emotional. It's usually an emotional trauma combined with some sort of physical trauma or some sort of chemical exposure trauma. And really what emotional and mental trauma does to us physically is it's almost more difficult to deal with, because we can in our mind rationally walk through the process. Okay, my Aunt Carol, she got in a car accident. The gum got stuck in her, in her throat. She couldn't breathe, lack of oxygen. We can all put that together and we understand why she's not able to function as an adult anymore. She's like a child and she needs full care. But for someone to go, well, yeah, it hurts to lose your mom. I mean, that's painful. But to get to the point where you can't function as a human being, it's hard to really rationalize that and walk yourself through that process. But that's what happens to people, maybe not on quite such a severe level, but it happens to people every day. And those are the people who I tend to deal with the most, are the people who, I'll sit down with someone and I'll say, one of the first questions I ask whenever I sit down with a new client is I say, when was the last time you were healthy?
Now, but are you saying physically or psychologically?
I'll say
or both.
Both. I'll say, when was the last time you just felt great? When was the last time you were healthy, happy, life was good for you? And they'll say, oh, when I was 25 years old or whatever, something like that. And I'll say, well, what happened around that time? Tell me what was going on in your life during that time. And you'll start to see this story. And it's kind of like, it's like being a sleuth a bit, in a person's life. And they'll start to tell me, oh, I was doing this. I was doing nothing's doing. They'll go, nothing really significant. I was going to college, I graduated, I moved, I did get in a car accident, but it wasn't severe. It wasn't, terrible, maybe a relative died or something. And all of a sudden they'll go, oh my gosh, they'll put the connection together as I start piecing it. I go, well, okay, so you graduated college. That was stressful. You started a new job. That's stressful. You moved to a different city. That's stressful. All these stressors, even good stressors, can trigger when we have, people talk about we have a predisposition towards heart disease or towards cancer or toward diabetes or whatever. You can even have identical twins and one will get cancer and one won't. Well, something has to trigger that. And emotional stress can trigger those things just as much as, anything else. And all of a sudden you'll see, I'll be talking to a person and they'll be telling me their story and I'll come back to where they think was something insignificant, and I'll say, well, okay, this happened, but also this happened at the same time, and all of a sudden the light bulb comes on. They go, oh my gosh, that's when I started getting sick. And it's crazy, and it could be, like a woman who she got divorced and at the same time started a house cleaning business. Well, she's exposing herself to all these cleaning chemicals. And she said, oh my gosh, that was the last time I was healthy, was right around that time. So she's got an emotional stress and she's got a chemical stress, so it's just interesting to me how we tend to, as a society, downplay the emotional and the mental stresses that we go through. And I believe that they are probably the most damaging. Physical stress, we've learned to overcome that in a lot of ways. It's funny, I put on my Facebook post, I was going through my memories on Facebook, and I found an old memory, and it talks about pain, and I was saying pain is one of those things that you get used to.
That's a tolerance issue, but psychological stress, there isn't a tolerance issue, right?
Well, yeah, psychological stress, you can learn how to deal with that too. Pain is pain, whether it's emotional pain or whether it's physical pain. And that was the thing that I talked about on my post on Facebook, was pain is one of those things that the more you're exposed to it, the more you understand it. And the more you understand anything, the more you can control it. If I understand how a horse works, how a horse thinks, I know I can put a bit in its mouth or whatever. I know how to control a horse. I can actually get on it and ride it, and I can use that horse. But if it's a wild horse and I don't understand anything about it, it's going to kick me in the face, and it's going to do a lot of damage.
Because it doesn't understand how the bit works.
It doesn't understand, and it doesn't want to understand.
Yeah.
So pain is like anything else. You can learn to understand it. You can learn to control it. When you control the pain and the pain doesn't control you, you get to live this very different style of life. And so, when you're talking about emotional stress, emotional trauma, I guess is the better word for it, is in our society, because we can't physically see it. You don't see the bruise of emotional trauma. You don't see the bleeding. I might say something and it triggers a pain inside, because I mentioned something that brought up a painful memory from someone's past. Exactly. And that's the reaction we get, is that they all of a sudden, you can see a shift in that person's physiology. You've done it before. You're talking to someone and maybe you say something that you think is totally innocent, but it's a trigger for that person, and their whole physiology changes. Their facial expression changes. Their shoulders drop.
You hit a nerve. You hit something, not intentionally. Maybe sometimes, but
sometimes it's fun.
Yeah, but sometimes you're just talking to somebody, and you hit a nerve, and you didn't intend to do that,
right.
And now you're searching your brain how to get around that to make it better, and you don't have enough information to make it better.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're talking, all of a sudden you see this person smiling and talking with you and sitting upright and having a good time, and all of a sudden you look across the table or across the room, and this person is not smiling anymore. There's a sorrowful look on the face, and they're kind of slunched over a little bit, and you can tell that's when you stop. You go, what's bothering you? What's wrong? And you can see that. And it's that type of emotional trauma that we as a society really, I think, need to focus on more about overcoming.
So as a professional then, Sean, when and whether we're professionals or we're just good friends or associates, whatever it might be, and you're recognizing that somebody is having an issue, how do you actually come to their aid? I mean, how do you give them support, because you don't know what the heck is the basis of this reaction they're having? You don't know what's going on. I mean, I suppose the only thing you can do is say hey, I can see that somehow I've struck a nerve, that I've upset you in some way. How can I help? Is that the only thing you can do?
Yeah, I think that is the only thing you can do. Maybe, boy, I'm really sorry that I brought that up. Maybe an apology is fine, even though you didn't really intend to do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with apologizing to someone who's feeling bad. You can apologize in the general sense. I'm really sorry you're going through this. You don't have to apologize for your actions so much as apologizing. I'm sorry, I feel bad for you. And certainly, what can I do to help? I'm here for you. I would say probably tend to avoid things like giving them an example of something you went through that's similar, because people don't want to hear that, And
you don't even know that it's really similar, because you don't know that's the root of the problem.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. And that's exactly it. And really just, I think that's above all things, loving people is the number one thing you can do, is let that person know that you care and that you love that person. And I think that to let someone know, hey, we're connected, and you're in my heart, and I'm here for you if you need me in any capacity.
And so, Sean, at that point, do you subtly dig in to find out what the problem is so you can try and help? Yeah. Or do you just shut up and listen? Because eventually, if they continue talking, they're going to enlighten you and let you know what the problem is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit of both. For me, as a professional sitting across the room from someone or sitting in the room with someone, finding out what's going on with them, is I got to know the right questions to ask. And sometimes you might have to ask the same question 4 or 5 different ways before you get the response. And then when you see that you've asked the right question, then you shut up and you listen. And inevitably, they're going to take you down the path that you want to go to figure out, okay, what is the root cause of this? And I can tell you how many times I've had someone say, they'll say, I feel like you're the first person who understands what's going on. And they've been to doctor after doctor, and I'm going, how is it that Sean LaFave, who's not extremely gifted in any special way, I'm just a guy who likes helping people.
Who listened.
Yeah, who listened. And that's exactly it. My son asked me one time, this was a few years ago, he said, Dad, can you teach me? Because he was always been really shy. He said, can you teach me how to talk to girls? I said, yeah, Victor, it's really easy. I said, you ask them a question and you just sit and shut up and you listen. And maybe every 30 minutes you go, oh, that's interesting. Or you say something like, oh, that must have made you feel awful, or it must have made you feel great. And they said, you let them talk for another 30 minutes. That's how you talk to girls, is you don't talk. You just let them talk. But that's exactly right though, is people need someone to hear them. And, there's a book out there that I absolutely love. It's called, and I think everybody should read it, on both sides of the healthcare world. And whether you're a practitioner or you're a participant, you're a client patient, read this book. It's called How Doctors Think. And, just the introduction.
That's not what they call stinking thinking, is it?
Yeah, it is sometimes. And, but the introduction talks about a woman who was basically diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and she was diagnosed with anorexia. She was very skinny. She would eat and then she would throw up, and they said it was all in her mind. They admitted her to a mental institution, on and on. And years and years and years went by. She had a stack of files, and finally she went to a doctor after, I don't know, I want to say it was like 15 years or more of this, and being told, look, this is all in your head. You're too skinny. You need to eat more hearty foods, have some breads and some pastas and, hearty things. This doctor took her files and he said, tell me your story. And she said, well, everything you need to know is in the file. He goes, no, it's not. He said, I pushed the file aside and I said, you tell me your story. I want to hear it from you. And he was the first person who ever did that to her. And I think that's a part of the reason why I love hearing people's stories, is that just reading this in the book was impactful to me to see what a difference it made in this woman's life. And she started telling him her story. And he said, you know what? He said, I think there's something going on here that no one's ever looked for. And he goes, I think maybe you might have celiac. A wheat allergy. And so he tested her and found out, sure enough, and that was her problem. All these doctors are telling her to eat more hearty foods. This was before gluten intolerance was a big topic. This book was written probably 15 or 20 years ago. And, just him listening to her story, he went, you know what? I've heard of this thing, this celiac disease. That may be what you have. And they tested her and found out, sure enough. And all she had to do was remove wheat out of her life, and her life completely turned around.
And I'm sorry, because I'm now realizing, because I was not well informed. Celiac disease is a disease that is an aversion to wheat.
Yeah, it's actually specifically the gluten that's in the wheat. It is
any gluten.
Anything gluten. Yeah. So gluten, it is an actual true allergy, not just an insensitivity or not just a sensitivity to it, but an actual allergy. Your body actually responds with an allergic reaction to the gluten. True celiac is, a lot of people think or may actually be, intolerant of gluten. They just can't process it very well. And so it kind of wears them down. It drags them down, makes them tired. But people who have a true celiac disease, their body reacts to it just like as if it was poison. Matter of fact, I had a patient years ago that her son was so bad that she said if he had even one bite of anything that had wheat in it, that it literally converted in his brain into an opiate, And she said he acted like he was strung out on drugs. He would scream, he would scratch his face until he would bleed, and on and on. This young kid had a true wheat allergy, a true gluten allergy. And that's what this girl had. And it took someone sitting down and listening to her as a person and understanding, okay, what's the root cause? And that's, for me, that's like I say, I listen to people's stories and I want to go, okay, did this happen because of something you were exposed to? Was it an emotional trauma? And so maybe that's something that they need to overcome, and maybe they have never dealt with that before. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And a lot of times you can do that at the same time that you're getting the body, because the body will emotionally drain itself of even its nutrients that it needs, because the emotional trauma is so much that it uses up all of your nutrients. Your glutathione, your vitamin B's become depleted. Now you're in lactic acidosis, and you go into this spiral. Well, now your heart's not functioning right. And you're going, why am I getting heart palpitations, at 40 years old or something like that? Am I going to have a heart attack? What's going on? Well, maybe your vitamin B's are deficient. Vitamin B's are key for stress. Your glutathione's gone. So now you're worn out and you're just not replenishing that enough. And so sometimes you go, okay, this is what's happened to you. This is what we need to replenish your body with what it needs.
Let me ask you this. Later on in the show, we're going to be doing this segment anyway, and it's called the a lifestyle tip of the day. And it's all about a positive mental attitude. And I'm wondering, we're talking about physiological things and psychological things that are going on. And one of the things that I firmly believe in, and that is that you really do control what's going on in your life. You control every aspect of it. And it starts kind of with, you decide if you're going to be successful or a failure, rich or poor, if you're going to be happy or sad. You do that every morning when you get up, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic day. It's going to be productive. It's going to be profitable. And I'm going to make everybody around me happy. And if you have that kind of a constitution, does it not also lend itself to you physiologically so that your whole body kind of reacts that way? I mean, I kind of believe that most individuals are kind of in control of their own lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's mindset is everything. Even what was it, Norman?
Because even if you're talking about celiac disease, I mean, I know that there's a physiological reaction that's going on, an allergic reaction that's going on, but physically, your brain really controls a whole lot about what's going on, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your brain controls everything that's going on, and yeah, having a positive mental. Yeah, certainly there are some things. If you've got a true like this wheat allergy, you can't outsmart that with thinking. But we're gonna go on a break right here. Why don't we go on a break and we'll come back? I'll talk about how mindset affects the physiological part of the body.
That sounds perfect. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. We got a lot of fantastic show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. Holy mackerel, it's still 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny, and I mean sunny, Southern California. It's on its way down to 50 degrees. That'll be a little more palatable. But if you're listening to us on our socially syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, it's 41 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it's 59 degrees and it's partly cloudy. But the unfortunate part is it's also 12:01 a.m. You ought to be in bed instead of listening to the show. No, that's not true. You ought to be in bed and listening to the show. That's what's going on. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave and his Geared for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone, buddy.
I do. I have a nice microphone, too. Yeah. I love being in the studio with you, Robert.
Oh, I love it, too. This is great.
This is awesome. Yeah. We're talking about mindset and really how that affects, the physical health, emotional trauma, mental trauma, and really how we can change that through mindset. And there are certainly things that that need to we need to overcome. We maybe go through some counseling, go through some coaching, whatever, to overcome certain things that we've been through. If you've been through some sort of a severe emotional trauma, it's always good to seek advice, and sometimes it could be just from a friend or someone who's been there before. That you can go, how do I push this aside? How do I overcome this? And I think part of it too is understanding that there are some things that you never overcome. If you lose someone very dear to you in your life, that's not something that you probably ever overcome. And it's okay that that's always going to be a little bit of a ache for you. Just understand. Yeah. And that's where I go back to what I was saying earlier was, pain is one of those things when you understand it, you can control it instead of having it control you. But mindset is huge, and I can tell you a personal example. I am not ticklish at all, anywhere, not one single spot. And but when
should I be asking Sally about that?
Yeah, you could ask a lot of people about this. And it's a frustrating source. Some people they want you to be ticklish because it's a control. They can control. I've got a friend that he is so ticklish, I can put my finger out and just start going towards his tummy, and he'll start just intimidating. He'll start cringing and squirming, and I'm not even touching him because he knows what's coming. But and he's my age,
Yeah.
But I was ticklish as a child, and as a teenager. And one day I literally decided that I didn't want to be ticklish anymore because I don't like it. And
whoa. You were very ticklish and decided you did not want to be ticklish anymore, yep. And you just psychologically overcame it?
Yep, exactly. I made a choice that I was not going to be ticklish anymore. And I think that I was getting a massage one time, and every now and then there is sometimes, especially if I'm getting a massage, certain points they'll start to dig in, and it almost feels like it's ticklish. And I had a massage therapist tell me, actually when you get ticklish, that's actually a precursor to pain. They're kind of a similar type sensation, as far as the onset of it. And so it goes back to the same thing. When you learn to understand it, you can learn to control it. And I just decided one day, I'm like, I don't want to be ticklish. And I was probably close to 20 years old. And I'm not ticklish. You can try to. I've had plenty of people try to tickle me, and I'm just like, go ahead. You're not gonna succeed because I'm not ticklish. I've chosen to not be ticklish, and you would think that would be something that you wouldn't have control over, but apparently you do. At least I do, anyway. Yeah. And I think that there are people who can control physical pain. Look at boxers. I mean, these guys, they hit hard, and they punch each other in the face. And in fact, I was in a Taekwondo competition. I got kicked in the face, and it hurt, but I couldn't bend over in pain. I had to continue fighting, and in fact, I had blood everywhere and everything. It was kind of a funny story, but the adrenaline kind of kicks in. Yeah, you don't really realize you've been hurt. Yeah. And at the moment, you're right. You definitely. And in fact, I don't know if you can see, I got a scar here on the top of my forehead. Oh no, you got a face for radio. Yeah, I do have a face for radio. I had this is kind of a funny story. I've actually got a video that I'll have to show it to you sometime. But a friend of mine, 260-pound rugby player, he was 25 years old. We were at the bar having a drink, and he just wanted to headbutt somebody really bad. And I said, okay, let's go. He's like, you can't take a headbutt. Really? Yeah, I was early 40s. This wasn't that long ago. Well, you were early 40s and stupid. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, I wasn't very smart. Just because I hit 40 doesn't mean I got smart. And I've never referred to you as stupid before, but I mean, I'm beginning to learn something about you, Sean. So I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm built to take pain. I can take pain really well. I said, you can't hurt me. And he said, dude, I'll give you $10 if you let me headbutt you. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. And he headbutted me so hard that, he literally reared back and came at me. He hit me so hard. There was nothing wrong with my forehead when he hit me, and blood went everywhere. And I had blood pouring down my face and split my, scalp wounds. They just bleed so terribly. And I gave him a fist bump afterwards and went in the bathroom and washed it off. And I'd have given him a fist bump. I mean, absolutely. I got my $10 about a little south of midsection. I got my $10 out of it, so I was happy. But the whole point of that is, physical pain is no different than emotional pain. It affects our body in the same way. It releases the same chemical response, and that's why it can lead to physical symptoms. You can get emotional pain that leads to physical symptoms, and if that emotional pain, you never learn how to deal with it, and it's okay to understand that pain may never go away. If you lose a brother or a sister or a parent or a child, even imagine how. To me, I can't imagine anything worse than that. But that. Some things you just don't ever overcome. You just have to learn how to deal with the pain. And so when you find that root cause of whatever it is that's causing this chronic state of ill health in a person, then you learn to address that. And sometimes it is addressing the emotional issues that are going on that are deep-seated. And sometimes it's just simply a matter of understanding, it's okay. And I think giving people permission to hurt is something that, because we're taught in our society, suck it up, buttercup. Boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. And they don't show pain, and they don't show emotion. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's sometimes, and women deal with the same thing. They've been taught, a lot of them, to hold it in, be tough, and to say to them, it's okay. It's okay to hurt, and it's okay to cry. I'm a guy that, I want to tell you something. Now, I'm a Latin guy. I'm Portuguese. I cry at sad cartoons. Oh yeah. I mean, I cry at country songs. I get emotional. Yeah. I watch these things, but while tears may be coming down my eyes, I'm a tough son of a gun. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Yeah. I'll watch these, get on YouTube, and I'll watch these videos of these people on like the X Factor. Yeah. And it's some nobody who sang the song, and you can see the person is just overwhelmed by the response. And I mean, stuff like that makes me cry. I'll have tears running down my face for some person. I don't know who they are, because they sang a really great song and the crowd went nuts, and it touched you. And it touches you. And and so I'm very much that kind of person. But yeah. But on the same token, I'm a tough guy. I can get a headbutt from a 260-pound rugby player and just laugh about it. Well, I don't. Yeah, but when I say tough guy,
and I don't mean it necessarily that way. I mean, I have a tremendously high tolerance for pain. It's just the way, because I've had a lot of pain in my life. Mm-hmm. But when I say a tough guy, that's not really so much what I mean. What I mean is that, you know what, I'm emotional. I have feelings. I care about people, whether I know them or not. I care about, especially people that I love and I care about. But when I say tough, if you hurt somebody I care about,
oh yeah,
you know, look out, because there is no limit that I will not go to.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you might hurt me, but you're going to know you've been in a fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the one thing I've said. I said, you hurt someone I care about, they better hope the police gets to them before I do. Yeah, you know, because I'm stuff like that. I have no tolerance for people like this whole thing that was going on for a while. Thank God we're not seeing it anymore, and hopefully it's because the fad is over. But that knockout game that people used to play, was
that the stupidest thing you ever saw? Cold cocking people, they didn't even know you're coming. You come up from behind them and you cold cock them and knock them cold. I mean, wouldn't you like to get your hands on the guy that was doing that?
Oh yeah. I mean, even if I saw someone do that to a stranger, I'd be
there in a heartbut.
Yeah. I just have zero tolerance for people who intentionally inflict pain on another person, and it's the same thing with and again, we're going back to this whole, you know, emotional pain. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the same thing. There are people who will do that. You know, it's like we talked about with, you know, Sally on the show with when you ask the question, you know, why do women stay in these relationships? Well, it starts out with little mental anguishes that
because they don't see the way out.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you don't. And all of a sudden you're like, how did it get to this? It wasn't like this, you know, it slowly got to that point. But
you know what the interesting thing is, and I know I'm kind of regressing a little bit, and I'm going back to the show that Sally was on, because I had legitimate questions, but they're questions that come from a guy, right?
Right.
And a guy
who treats women the way women should be treated.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I just don't understand. One, I don't understand that treatment. And two, I can't understand, I can't fathom why a woman would stay in that situation. Right. And then having this conversation with Sally, you start to realize that there are insecurities that go on with this. They don't know where they're going to go, how they're going to go there, how they're going to protect their children, how they're going to eat, where they're going to live, how they're going to breathe. And you don't, you know, as a guy, you don't think about those kinds of things. But as a woman, I certainly can understand that now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and women tend to be more motivated by security than men do. You know, women want to know that they're going to have a roof over their head and they're going to get to eat their food and you know, the bills are going to get paid and on and on. Where guys are like, oh, screw it, I'll go live in a tent if I have to. You know, like I don't care, it's not a big deal, I'll figure it out. You know, so security, for generally speaking, men aren't as motivated by security as women are, and so when all of a sudden, you know, she's in this situation where she's in mental anguish, but to leave that mental or physical stress, abuse that she's in means losing her security, then you know, what does she do? Because that security is too valuable. Yeah. And just like Sally said, you know, it doesn't just happen overnight. It happens slowly. You know, like that story she told about the woman, you know, who was in the relationship with the chief of police. Well, what a terrible story. You know, so it's, and I think that's, you know, when we talk about, you know, people who are chronically ill, it's, they need to understand that, you know, we're trying to get the next pill, the next, you know, whatever magic, you know, solution that's going to fix it, where maybe it's not necessarily a physical disorder. Maybe it is, you know, an emotional thing. Like I said, it's pretty much every person I ever talked to who's chronically sick, they have some sort of emotional trauma along with their physical or chemical trauma, or they have all three, you know, and to watch the light bulb come on where they realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it, but it's been ever since this happened that I started getting sick. And you don't think, you know, that, oh, I went through a divorce and now I've got some sort of, you know, chronic fatigue, or I've got, you know, aches and pains that won't go away, or I'm just tired all the time.
And the mental strain creates a physical problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It literally, that mental anguish, that mental strain, it releases the same chemicals that physical pain does, and now you've got a chemical imbalance, and now you're using up all your nutrition that your body needs, all of its supplies, all of its backup to keep itself going, and all of a sudden you're drained, and now you just don't recover because you're so deficient in the tools that your body needs. It used up all of its tools to deal with this mental anguish, and now it can't deal with even keeping a healthy body going. So now the body feels like it's in pain, when it really is not even a physical problem. I can't tell you how many people I've dealt with that they'll say, I go to my doctor, they run all these blood tests, and they tell me everything's within the normal range and there's nothing wrong with you. And
so what is a normal range, right?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe the normal range is not what we think it is.
Or at least it's not for me.
They say, or maybe not for me. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we need to find different tests to run. Maybe we're not testing for the right thing. But, the doctors will say there's nothing wrong with you. And they're sitting there going, yeah, everything's wrong with me. I'm tired. I can't sleep. I can't lose weight. I hurt all the time. I'm just, I can function, but that's about it. My life is not great like it used to be. I don't wake up in the morning bouncing out of bed. I wake up dragging myself to the shower and getting that cup of coffee and trying to motivate myself every single day. And I have no idea why. And a lot of it comes from an emotional trauma that was maybe, triggered whatever's going on in your body. And so it's just, I guess the whole point of this is for people to understand is maybe your physical symptoms, your physical dis-ease isn't really a physical problem. Maybe it's emotional, or I could also say spiritual too, as well. Emotional, spiritual, physical. They all are so interconnected that it's really hard to take one away or isolate one and fix it without affecting the others.
So no, I don't want to go there. I was actually going to start drawing an analogy between a psychological awareness and a spiritual awareness, thinking that for many people it's one and the same.
Yeah, for many people it is one and the same, and for some people they make a clear distinction. That my psyche is different from my, that maybe my physical thoughts are different from spiritually who I am. But I think that even if they are different, they're still very connected. Yeah. And it's like, I was actually just, I heard someone speaking yesterday, and I kind of read some articles, and I was looking at things about, people who get heart transplants. And I need to research this more to see how valid this really is. But there are reports out there that people will get a heart transplant, and all of a sudden they have a craving for a food they never liked before.
Oh, really?
And they find out that was the favorite food of the person who the heart came from. That sometimes that people will have, they'll like all of a sudden,
see, that's really strange.
They'll start listening to music they never listened to before.
But isn't that strange? Because you would think that's not a product of the heart, the pump. It would be a product of the brain. And then, because everybody relates to the heart with regard to feelings and internal things. Is there a connection between the brain and the heart that a lot of, let's just call scientists don't really understand yet?
Yeah. And that's kind of the point of that. And I think maybe there is, because we talk about that, he's got a great heart. She's got such a huge heart. We talk about people who have, I got a broken heart. We talk about, you said, all these feelings, all these emotions, and we relate them to the heart. Mm-hmm. And maybe there really is an actual physiological connection between the heart and what's going on with our feelings, and like I said, there's you can read a lot of stories about what's going on with people who get a heart transplant, and all of a sudden they have the feelings that they believe came from the person that they got the donor from. But we got to go on a commercial break here in a little bit, and when we come back, I think we've kind of dug deep enough into this. Let's talk about let's go talk more about what we just got done with, and that is the brain connection with other. But let's talk about the gut brain. You even say, "Hey, I got a gut feeling about this." Yeah, let's talk about that, because the gut is actually considered the second brain.
Isn't that? I mean, that is fascinating. That we probably could talk a whole show about that.
Yeah, a couple of shows.
Because I never thought in terms of when you were saying the connection between the brain and the heart, and then the gut. Because people relate to, I've got this gut feeling.
I got this gut feeling, yeah.
And is there a connection, a physiological connection between the top and bottom of your body trunk?
Yeah.
If you think about it. Anyway, we're going to talk some more to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner right after these brief messages. Don't go away. We've got a lot of fantastic show for you.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
Okay, it's time to wake up. I'm Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. I'm here with my co-host, Sean LaFave, in the Geared for Wellness Corner. I want you to know that at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time, hey, it's going down. It's down at, it's 87 degrees right now in the heart of the Inland Empire. In
86.
Sunny, just went to 86, yeah. In sunny Southern California, it's down from 90 degrees on its way to 58 degrees. If you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you're in London, London, England, you lucky son of a gun, it's 46 degrees and it's overcast. If you're in Vienna, Austria, it is 30 degrees. It's damn cold and scattered clouds. And it's also tomorrow morning. Actually, it's cold. Anyway, we're talking to our own Sean LaFave at Garrett for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone. We were talking about all of these psychological damages, physical damages, and the communications between the brain, the top, and the gut, the bottom.
Yeah. It's interesting because, we have these things like we were talking about before, people say, that hurts my heart, or, this guy's got a great heart, or whatever the case, we relate heart to emotion. And then we have that intuitive nature about us, where we say, I just got a gut feeling, or, we use the gut as a reference for things that, can also be emotional and intuitive and so on. But the gut is actually, our digestive system is the only part of our body that if you disconnected it from the brain would actually continue to still function for a while. It actually is considered to be like a second brain. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have billions, maybe I guess probably trillions would be the better word, trillions of organisms living in our gut. We have that microbiome. Again, that's the microbiome is the ecosystem built up or made up by the living organisms, all those bacteria and virus and so on in our gut. And, there's a strong belief and understanding that they all communicate with each other, and that their collective communication, their collective knowledge, their collective desires and feelings actually influence what we do,
So, Sean,
how we feel.
If your brain, and I know that it does, sends out these synapses through your nervous system and your nerves and things to all parts of your body, who's to say that it doesn't go the other way too?
Well, it does go the other way, because if I pinch you right now,
I'm going to feel it, right?
Feel it. So it does go the other way.
If my stomach gets upset, it's going to tell my brain, right?
Right, exactly.
And my bowels are going to move.
Right. And so if this ecosystem, this microbiome in your gut is giving off a certain energy, why is that not being transmitted back to your brain? And it does. And that's the whole thing, is we realize that, a lot of these sensations, these feelings, this intuition that we get, that we say it comes from the gut. Well, that's for a reason, because we have a whole ecosystem living in our gut that influences how we feel and how we think and really how we respond to things.
Well, you said something to me once that that ties into this a little bit, and that is that for people that have cravings, they're craving sugar, or they're craving carbohydrates, or they're craving protein, or they're craving water, or they're whatever they're craving. That is a part of their body that is telling their brain, I'm deficient in this area, and if we don't do something about it, I'm going to have a problem here.
Right.
And so that communication system obviously must be a two-way communication system.
Yeah, it has to be a two-way communication, because the body tells the brain, hey, I need XYZ, I need carbohydrates. If it doesn't have the ability to burn fat because of a hormone
you're
imbalance,
craving a candy bar, there's a reason.
Yeah, if you're craving, no one ever sits around and goes, boy, I really wish I had, unless you really like asparagus, but no one has.
Oh, I do like asparagus.
I mean, that's probably not a good example, because I love asparagus.
But I was craving early this morning. I was craving jambalaya.
Yeah, well, I was too, and I'm not craving it anymore because my tummy says I got all I wanted. But yeah, people typically, when, there's a difference between a craving and actually a hunger, and when people crave something, it's typically not vegetables, it's right. Usually something that.
But it could be.
You can crave vegetables, and I know that, like, especially women who get pregnant, if they need certain things, their body will crave something that maybe they don't even normally eat, but the body knows. I mean, the body knows. It remembers, okay, you ate this and it had this nutritional value to it, and that's something I need right now, so I'm going to give you a craving for that.
So, Sean, I'm a carnivore. I love meat. I'm a meat eater, right?
Me too.
But I also love fish and chicken, and But if, let's just say that I wasn't, and I was a vegetarian. If I get hungry, I'm not going to crave a steak or a piece of chicken or a piece of fish. I'm going to crave some vegetables. Am I not?
Yeah,
Is it just a matter of habit?
It's a matter of what your body's gotten used to. So, I mean, I know people who have been vegetarians their whole life, literally never, even as a kid, have eaten meat. And so, I can't imagine that your body could give itself a craving for something that it's never been exposed to. The body would first need to be exposed to it and understand, break down, okay, this is what's in that food before it could give you the craving. And that's, and it goes after the body it wants to be efficient. And so the reason why people crave stuff like candy bars or, sugary stuff or breads or pasta is because they're very simple and they're broken down rapidly and they give you that burst of energy you need. It's not that broccoli won't do that for you. It's just that it's more expensive energy expenditure to break that broccoli down into a usable form of energy. I can break a piece of white bread down into usable energy faster than I can table sugar even. It's just super fast. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Boom, instantly I've got energy. So when the body craves those things, it's because it wants it, and it wants it now, and it wants it the most efficient way. And it knows, even at the expense of becoming nutritionally deficient, it knows this is what I need and this is the fastest way to get it. And that's why the cravings are usually for something that's not typically good for you.
Are cravings necessarily always a need for the body, or sometimes cravings are just because you have abused some kind of maybe candy bars or something like that, and it just become a habit issue that you just can't live without the sugar, or you can't live without the chocolate, or you can't, or what I'm trying to say is not all cravings are natural cravings.
So it's funny you asked two questions. I was just going to say yes. On both cases, it is a need, but it's also, and I guess you can use the word, you've just kind of abused, you've overused that certain type of food. And it is, we do have a need for things. And, if your body's used to getting it from something that is not good for you, like candy bars, it'll crave that because it knows that that's the fastest way. Like, we have two ways, and we've talked about this before, I know, but I'll use this example again. There's two ways to burn energy in the body. You can burn fat, which burns really clean, and it's a very efficient form of energy for our body to burn. And then you can burn sugar, which burns a lot more rapidly, but it also creates a lot more waste products. It leads to inflammation and so on. But if the hormone receptors that hear the hormone leptin are blunted, just like people get insulin resistance, you can get leptin resistance. Leptin is the hormone that tells you to burn fat, just like insulin helps you burn sugar. If you can't utilize leptin in your body, then the body will need to burn sugar. And so it's going to crave things that it can rapidly turn into sugar, because the only other way for you to get that energy that you need, because normally if I can burn fat for energy, my body can just start ripping fat. I mean, even a lean marathon runner is still going to have plenty of fat for the body to use for energy. But if you can't burn that fat, the only way for the body to take to get carbohydrates, to get sugar to burn, is to actually break down muscle. It'll take protein and break it down into a sugar,
which is counterproductive.
Which is counterproductive. It's cannibalistic.
Yeah.
The body doesn't want to consume itself, and so for the need for survival says, give Sean a craving for bread or pasta, because I know he's eaten this stuff before.
He needs to get these carbs instead of eating up the muscle.
Instead of eating up the muscle, right? Exactly. Yeah. And so it is a need, but it's also driven by the fact that we've fed our bodies stuff that we really shouldn't. And the problem with that is when you're chronically feeding yourself, these highly processed foods that are low in nutrition, you create this inflammation, and that inflammation creates even more problem because it blunts the receptors on the cell. So now you can't utilize the hormones you need. Your insulin is off, your cortisol is off, your leptin is off, and all those three things right there are key for creating energy. And so you're basically going into this downward spiral, and the hardest thing to do is exactly what you need to do, and that is stop eating those processed foods and train your body. Go, okay, you know what? I have a carbohydrate cravings. I want bread right now. So instead of eating bread, I'm going to give myself something that I know isn't going to lead to inflammation, so that it's not going to perpetuate the problem. So I'm going to give myself some vegetables instead. It's hard to do in the beginning. For some people, I've talked to people who their cravings are so bad that they wake up in the middle of the night and they can't go back to sleep unless they go eat. And I've never met anybody like this, but I've talked to doctors who have known people who are sleep eaters. They will literally get up out of bed, go to the kitchen, fix themselves something to eat it, and then go back to bed and not have any memory of it. They did it in their sleep. So it's when the body, like I said, the body is very efficient. When it wants something, it finds a way to get it. And until you give it a different solution,
even if you're unconscious,
even in your subconscious, the body's amazing. The human body it's amazing. There's no way that man will ever create something more complicated than the human body. Every aspect of it is just mind blowing. So,
tree. You got to claim a tree for 3 minutes.
So, but anyway,
that's what they call it.
Yeah. So we were talking about. I'm used to you asking questions all the time. It's good. It's like, there we go. You scared me. I'm not used to hearing those sound effects. I was about to jump under a table or turn around and grab somebody. But, again, this all goes back to, though, is, again, mindset, mental and emotional discipline, I guess is the word. And sometimes you have to, like I said, when a person is unable to burn fat, the body will give you cravings that you just can't outthink, and so you've got to be smarter than your cravings. You've got to go, okay, I got to give myself something to replace that with. So that's where that mindset comes in. You go, you know what? I know that my body is telling me that I need bread right now. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to. They go, I don't want to give up bread. I'll never give up bread. And I'm like, well, then you're never going to get healthy. If you're willing to sit here and tell me that's like someone saying I'll never give up alcohol, well, then you're going to be an alcoholic for the rest of your life, and so if you're unhealthy and you're addicted to carbohydrates, sugar, they say sugar now, they're proving that sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
But how do you, I'm just not sure how in today's world you eliminate sugar. It is so it's infiltrated into everything.
You basically got to make your own food.
Today, what you ate today, totally from scratch. There was no sugar in anything that we had. Yeah, but unless you do that and control it.
Sugar is in. I went to the grocery store one time and I saw, you can buy those like the little mini grinders that they're like plastic. You could like salt and pepper grinders that you just, when it's done, you just throw the thing away and go buy another one. Well, I saw one that had salt and pepper together. I thought, it's a salt and pepper grinder together. That's kind of cool. And you would think, like, I'm such a label reader, that I just automatically flipped it over because I was curious. And so if you saw something that said salt and pepper grinder,
you would think it was salt and pepper.
What would you expect the ingredients? Right. You expected it to say pepper and salt or salt and pepper.
Yeah.
No, there was a third ingredient in there. Guess what it was?
Sugar.
Exactly.
Why?
Because they know that people love sugar and salt and sugar.
Addicting.
Exactly. They're going to say, most people aren't going to read it. They're going to use it and go, wow, this salt and pepper is awesome. I love this stuff. It's great. Yeah, because you just put sugar on your food too. And so, the only way to get away from that is to understand that, you've got to get away from processed foods. Eating out, is not an answer either. Restaurants, they understand that, putting sugar is going to make their stuff taste better. So
it makes you come back for more.
It does make you come back
Speaking
for more.
of coming back for more, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, well, you know what? We're going to do the birthdays for today, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. And then right behind that, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Sean's going to be doing that today. And the story today is, you can't come inside. We'll tell you all about it.
Story.
Oh, it's going to be a fantastic story. You've already read it, right?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to be talking about all those things when we come back from this brief message. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? It is currently 4:41 p.m. Pacific time here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's currently 86 degrees. That's down from 90 degrees on its way to 59 degrees here. And if you are listening to us on our nationally or worldwide syndicated show, and you're in Madrid, Spain, listening to us, it's 52 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Tokyo, Japan, it's 55 degrees and it is sunny. But you know what? Right now, and I kind of messed it up. I didn't get this thing ready. I got busy talking and I didn't get this thing all set. What we really want to talk about right now are the birthdays for today. And as soon as I get my head together and I get this thing put together, I'm going to actually do that.
Me in the studio.
That's, you know what? Yeah, I'm distracted. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I can tell you this: it's Thursday. It's November the 3rd, and it certainly is somebody's birthday.
That is really creepy. Happy birthday song. I feel like I'm going to turn around and Chucky the doll is going to be standing behind me.
Well, you know, Sheriff John used to do that song all the time. Anyway, you don't remember Sheriff John. You're not old enough.
No.
Yeah, and Crusader Rabbit. No, you don't remember that either. You resemble Crusader. You resemble Crusader Rabbit.
I do?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do I have the ears?
Anyway, so today is Thursday, November the 3rd, and it is somebody's birthday. Here's somebody that was born in 1952, an actress, comedian, writer, and television producer. Happy birthday to Roseanne Barr.
Oh, good
and
God.
Here's somebody else born in 1953, stand-up comedian. He's known for his ability to improvise critical assessments laced with pop culture references. Happy birthday birthday to? Dennis Miller, one of your favorite people.
You know what? The NFL has not been the same since Dennis Miller left. He was the best thing that ever happened to the NFL. I love Dennis Miller.
Yeah, he should have stayed there.
Yep.
And here's somebody born in 1954, a musician who gained popularity as the lead singer in the group Adam and the Ants Singer, once voted sexiest man in America. Happy birthday, Adam Ant. Yeah. Well, you ever wonder what was going on today in history? Don't wonder anymore, because I'm about to tell you.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Absolutely. Here's the deal.
Excited.
On November the 3rd, 1913, the United States introduces the income tax.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and wasn't that a momentous day? And in 1957, Sputnik program, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik 2. On board is the very first animal to enter orbit, a dog named Laika.
Sorry, it's a dog. I was thinking it's a monkey.
Yeah.
It's a dog.
And then finally, on November the 3rd, 1964, Washington, D.C. residents are able to vote in a presidential election for the very first time. Think about that. Not that long ago, if you think about it, 1964, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Yes.
That's not long ago.
No. Well, our quote for today comes from Cahill Gillibrand, and the quote is, "All our words are but crumbs that fall down from the feast of the mind." Boy, isn't that profound? That's true. Absolutely true.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about the Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is, you know what? Use celebrations to mark important moments at work. Now, this actually makes a lot of sense. You know, people have long used ceremonies, bar mitzvahs, baptisms, weddings, inaugurations, quinceaneras, to mark changes and turning points. Companies have ceremonies too, by the way, but they often focus on celebrating the positive. Birthdays, work anniversaries, promotions, and project victories. These types of recognition are important and shouldn't stop, but companies should consider using celebrations to help people through hard times. This can be a powerful way to mark difficulties, acknowledge dark passages, honor those who've made sacrifices or experienced hardship, and help people move on. You may not pop a bottle of champagne after a difficult reorganization, but you might gather as a group and read your mission statement aloud and hold a mock funeral for the past, as Steve Jobs did at the 2002 Worldwide Developers Conference to mark the end of the Mac OS 9. Communal experiences like these can help strengthen your group's bonds, values, and vision. Now, this is not just a good business idea. This is a good personal idea if you think about it.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Every day I talk to you about the lifestyle, the secret daily teaching for your life, the lifestyle tip of the day. This is all about a positive mental attitude. I'm going to repeat myself a little bit because I actually said it earlier in the show to Sean. You really do control what's going on in your life. You decide if you're going to be happy, sad, rich, poor, if you're going to be a success or a failure, if the people around you are going to be happy or sad. You do it every morning. When you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic, productive, profitable day, and I'm going to make everybody around me just as happy as I am today. Well, you know what? The tip for today is you cannot be harmed unless you call harm into existence by emitting those negative thoughts and feelings. You have been given free will to choose, but when you think negative thoughts and have negative feelings, you're separating yourself from the one and all good. Think about every negative emotion that there is, and you will discover that every one of them is based in fear. They come from thoughts of separation and from seeing yourself as separate from another. Just not the case. That's just the way it is. Well, you know what? It's time for us to give you some interesting but useless facts. Now, this is a fun part of the show, Sean. You know what? I question the intelligence of the people that have to sit down, figure out these doggone things. But some of them are fun. So let's get right to them. Did you know that 12% of people who use personal ads in online dating services are already married?
I believe that.
Yep. It's true. Sick people. You know, it was accepted practice in Babylon 4,000 years ago that for a month after the wedding, the bride's father would supply his son-in-law with all the meat that he could, or mead, that he could drink. Mead is a honey beer, and because their calendar was lunar-based, this period was called the honey month. We know today
Honeymoon.
as the honeymoon.
Well, that's a good one.
Kind of interesting, huh?
So stay drunk for a month.
Absolutely. You probably need to after that. When reality sets in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you know that some lions mate 50 times a day? Here comes Santa Claus. No, I mean, wow. That's quite an ambitious thought.
Man.
How about this?
Got nothing on that.
No way. No way, no how. Did you know the only thing that can destroy a diamond is intense heat? Wow. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's interesting.
I guess that's why they use diamonds to cut other things.
That's why they call it interesting and useless in fact. Yeah. How about this? There is a Massachusetts law requiring all dogs to have their hind legs tied during the month of April. Don't ask me. Don't ask.
I don't want to know why, but it's Massachusetts and Taxachusetts, as I like to call it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you know that Tina Turner's real name is Annie Mae Bullock?
Well, Tina is much easier to say.
met Tina. She was a nice gal. She was still married to Ike at the time. Yeah. Idiot. Anyhow.
I thought she was great in Mad Max.
Oh, yeah. Hey, although construction of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Strasbourg started in 1015, it was not until 1439 that the spire was actually completed.
That's a long
400 years long.
Project.
That's a long time.
I think. I think that's the same company that does construction on the main. They call it Kellogg, that runs through Wichita, Kansas. I'm pretty sure the same company.
He's probably a government contractor.
Yeah.
Well, let me leave you with this one. In Gabon, there are several.
Is that a country?
Yes, 1.8 billion years old natural nuclear reactors. That's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
But I can't leave you with that. I can leave you with this. Most pet owners, 94%, say that their pet makes them smile more than once a day.
I used to have a dog, and that I totally believe.
That got to be the truth. Now, do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. The story today is going to be, you can't come inside. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages, folks, as soon as I find the right spot to go. There we go.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7300. 7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. You caught me napping. Thank God a truck didn't hit me at 4:54 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 86 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's down from 90 degrees on its way to 59 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Lisbon, Portugal, it's 63 degrees and partly cloudy. And if you're in Auckland, New Zealand, it's 63 degrees and there are scattered clouds. You know what? It's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. You know what? The American Broadcasting Company calls him the biggest voice in America. He's Paul Harvey, and each week, millions of listeners and viewers and readers awaited his unraveling of the mysteries of events and lives of people past and present. He was heard on over 1,400 radio stations, seen on 110 television stations, and read in 300 newspapers. The rest of the story has, for years, been exploring the byways of history with revelations that are intriguing, amusing, and surprising. And the man with the rest of the story today is our own Sean LaFave, and he's talking about You Can't Come Inside. Sean, you got the microphone.
Well, I tell you, I love this story, and I'll tell you why at the end. So, country singer Lonzo Green was a stranger in town that summer. He had brought his wife and 2 children all the way from Cherry Valley, Arkansas to visit relatives in Tennessee. But as I say, he was a stranger in town, unaccustomed to the local customs and taboos. So Lonzo was a bit surprised to learn that a friend of his young nephew was under no circumstances to be allowed in the house. His teenage nephew Jimmy had proudly, excitedly spread the word around school that Uncle Lonzo had come to town and was staying with them right there in the apartment on Lauderdale Court. Naturally, this impressed Jimmy's friends, especially one, a quiet, dark-haired boy of 15. Jimmy came home that day and told Lonzo about the boy, how he had his own guitar, but he didn't know how to tune it. If Lonzo would just tune the guitar for him, the boy would be very grateful. Lonzo said he'd be happy to oblige and asked Jimmy when his friend could come with the guitar. Jimmy's eager smile fell. His friend could come by that afternoon, but Mom and Dad had made it a firm rule that the boy was not allowed inside. He was from the wrong side of the tracks, they explained, and some folks called him white trash. Perhaps he could meet Lonzo outside, but he was not to be permitted in the house. Lonzo didn't quite understand, but he nodded, said nothing, and a couple hours later he walked out into the sunlight and waited. In a minute or two, a figure appeared at the end of the lane, a boy with dark hair, a battered guitar slung across his back, I should say. As the boy walked closer, Lonzo studied the sensitive features, the timid sideways glances of the better neighborhood, the sting of self-consciousness. Then he noticed that the boy's guitar, obviously inexpensive, doubtless secondhand, was tethered by a piece of string. They met at the curb, shook hands. The youngster gave a shy, slight smile, and there at the curbside they sat down. Lonzo took the instrument from the boy. Had no one ever shown him how to tune his guitar? The answer came in a soft, polite southern drawl. No, sir. Lonzo demonstrated, placing his fingers over the proper frets. The boy watched intently. After the guitar was tuned, he thanked Lonzo and began to rise from the curb. But Lonzo would not let him leave. He had tasted poverty in his own youth. He too had known the other side of the neighborhood barrier which separated acceptable from unacceptable people. How much a little kindness from the right person would have meant back then. So Lonzo asked the dark-haired boy to stay a while longer. The hesitant smile broke into a broad grin. With the boy's guitar, Lonzo played and sang a familiar hill country ballad, and then another, and then another. Shortly, the haunting reticence in the boy's eyes was gone and replaced by the joy of the music. Cars streamed past them. The shadows of late afternoon grew longer. After Lonzo had taught the boy to play a few chords on the guitar, the youngster thanked him again and was on his way. He was not invited inside. Not then. And Lonzo Green would never meet him again. But the boy had left his company with a warm memory, a memory he would carry throughout the remarkable radical changes in his own life. For someday, you would invite the dark-haired boy from the wrong side into your home. And when he crossed those tracks for good, he brought with him his guitar, the soft, polite drawl, the hesitant smile. That was 29 summers ago. Of course, today is a lot more than 29 summers. And 33 motion pictures, 400 million records, and a lifetime ago. And if there's a happy ending mixed with our own bittersweet memories, it is that this boy was never, ever after unwelcome again. The young fellow who once upon a time couldn't come inside was Elvis Presley. And now you know the rest of the story.
That's our show for today.
Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.